Hello everyone, welcome to today's webinar, SYSPRO 8, What's New and a Refresher. Just while we're waiting for a few more to join, if I can have a show of hands that you can hear me, if you can use the GoToWebinar panel for me, please. I see a few hands go up, excellent, wonderful. Thanks very much for joining us today. My name is Darshnee, and today I'm very, very pleased to have joining me today Lucia Mundinano. Hi, Lucia.
Hi there. Hi, everybody.
Lucia is the technical sales consultant here with NexSys. She's been in the business for 19 years, and something you need to know about her, she's got this beautiful retriever, Labrador retriever called Neo. So if you want to make friends with Lucia, ask her a little bit about Neo. And of course, my name's Darshnee Shah. You've seen me on webinars before. I'm the product manager here with NexSys. I've been in the business just coming on to 6 years here in the UK, and of course, many, many more before this in Canada. But we're here to talk a little bit about SYSPRO 8. So now that you know what we look like, we're going to swap over. Let's focus a little bit just on the presentation. So today's session is all around SYSPRO. And I just wanted to set the scene before we kick off to talk a little bit about SYSPRO 8. Today, we're currently sitting at the latest release of SYSPRO 8 2024. It's a few months old, was released in August earlier this year. And of course, you can see that we've had a number of iterations of SYSPRO available since 2018. You can see that the current phase, some of the earlier versions are in an extended release, which means that only critical errors and issues will get fixed. But of course, the 8 version that's currently mainstream is continuing to be added to. SYSPRO 7 is an older release. It was retired in the summer last year. So it is a product that you want to look to move forward from. And if you wanted to get a sense of what the life cycles look like, of course, SYSPRO keeps that updated on the help site if you want to take a look for and do a search for product life cycle. Now, before we kick off, I just want to get a sense from you what you're currently running. So I've got a quick poll. Are you currently on SYSPRO 8, SYSPRO 7, 6.1, or older? And the votes are coming in quickly. We've got 76% that have voted. I'll just give it another 5 seconds. And I'll close that poll down. So it looks currently like we've got about 47%, just under half of you that are on SYSPRO 8, but the rest, 50%, are on SYSPRO 7, 3 on 6.1 and older. So that's great because we've got a variety of things that we're going to talk about today. I want to set things into context because we've broken this presentation down into sections. And I'm going to start out by talking about SYSPRO and the development and the focus of areas when the product team is looking at improving different areas of the business. And fundamentally, it's all about driving business performance and digital transformation. So as always, we would think about starting this with what's happening within your own organization. So functionality is added within this particular lens, thinking about improving the control of what's happening within your own 4 walls and how to improve that. But we don't just work on by ourselves. We have a supply chain, both upstream and downstream. And there are enhancements that are being added into SYSPRO to help that connected world come together. Now, if you go ahead and go one layer beyond that, as you're starting to expose your environment and systems and expose and share data both up and down that particular supply chain, you want to make sure that you're controlling who has the right information and access to that at the right time. And then we've got all this rich data that's coming in, not just from everything that we're doing within our own business, but of course up and down with our customers and our suppliers. And that data, we want to be able to do something with it to drive our business forward and go ahead and use that intelligence to make sensible business decisions. And we want to do that not just at a strategic level, but also down at the operational level. So enhancements in SYSPRO are also driving towards that. And then the last layer that SYSPRO talks about is the digital business platform. Gone are the days when ERP solutions or simply a system of record. It's now evolving. The platform has unlimited flexibility to allow more data handling, integration, customizations, and extending that, because the reality is SYSPRO is oftentimes one solution that's in and around running your business. So that's where the digital business platform kicks in. So that's how you're going to see a lot of the changes and improvements coming into the system as we're going ahead and talking about them. So what's actually come in? We talked about the digital business platform. There are a number of things in SYSPRO that have been introduced. Let's start talking about the fact that within the SYSPRO client, we have the idea of a web view, which means that we can see something that looks very similar to a web browser and surface up information in that sort of control, which makes the user engagement and makes it easier for me as an end user to see the information I want at my fingertips. I can have cards and carousels and things that I'm more familiar with when I'm navigating around my day-to-day activities, also emulated and simulated in SYSPRO. The nice part about the web views, as we'll see further on in the presentation, is it also surfaces up things such as insights and tiles that allows us to drive business decisions and behavior. There's also the introduction of a web user interface we call Eventi within SYSPRO 8, and the ability to have that available rather than the traditional client. Now, with the traditional client, customization is such a rich tool set within SYSPRO itself, and you can do that at an operator level, at a row level, designing screens to drive and deliver the information that you need in the way that you want to engage. And you can have not just one individual, but a group of individuals in a role looking at that screen in the same way. And as they're moving from perhaps one client machine to another, the customization moves along with them, and enhancements have been made to that functionality. We talked a little bit about data, and data is king, especially when you're talking about the digital business platform. We've expanded the data model. The data dictionary in SYSPRO holds and is a repository of everything that SYSPRO contains. We know that, of course, as a business, you may have additional information that's there. You're storing it in the underlying tables. You may have columns, data sets. The expansion in the 2024 release is the ability to add that to the data dictionary rather than having it be ancillary, which means it's now available for you in areas that you would traditionally have within SYSPRO itself, and extending that out really gives you that expansion. Now, we talked about customization a little bit earlier. One of the new tools that was introduced in the earlier releases of SYSPRO is an application designer. This powerful tool really changes the way that we're able to go ahead and build screens within SYSPRO, making them look exactly like all other areas of SYSPRO, but in a faster, simpler, more agile manner. In fact, the application designer is something that SYSPRO developers use in-house when they're building new functionality, adding that into SYSPRO itself. So it's native to our platform. That tool set is also available to you as an end customer to start designing screens and even building programs that your end users can engage with. Enhancements have been added into the 2024 release to this application designer, and I want to focus on one in particular. So here you'll see an example of a screen that was created by Andrew, one of the consultants. It's basically making it really simple for an end user to look at all of the open POs that we've got for a particular supplier and to go ahead and make price modifications to them and have them updated. This data is getting updated directly using business objects, which means that the logic that you've had, the business rules, the security rules are all adhered to. It's a program that's built into SYSPRO, which means it looks and engages very similarly to everything else. The nice part about this is with the application designer functionality, I don't have to create code to add in things such as custom form fields. I can quickly take on little boxes and make that available to us. So in this particular instance, I've got some customization where additional data is available for me against that supplier. I can go ahead and enable the ability for an end user to choose to add in through the traditional SYSPRO functionality of a field selector any custom fields that are stored against that supplier. In this case, I've got two, truck and route, drag that into the pane on top here, and have that available for me very quickly and easily. And that was done with no code and customization needed in addition to just building that particular pane. So that makes it very easily and accessible and far more into the realm of everything that you're used to from a SYSPRO perspective. Right, moving on ahead. Information and intelligence, we're starting to peel that onion of the developments that SYSPRO have put in. So in information and intelligence, there are a number of changes that 8 introduces. Business activity queries. These are queries that get added in to allow you to drive business behavior. Insight tiles can be based on these activity queries that give you a quick little at-a-glance tile to show you how you're performing what you're doing. In addition to that, there is also a new module introduced in the last release of SYSPRO called Embedded Analytics. It does exactly what it says. Name's on the tin. It's analytic information embedded within SYSPRO. I'm not going to talk too much about that because, of course, I'm going to hand over to Lucia shortly to show you what's possible with that. But before I do that, let's talk about a few more things that are there. Search has been improved significantly in AIM. The idea of predictive search was introduced in SYSPRO 7, where it's similar to when I'm going into any search engine and I start typing in 3 words or 3 letters, and it suggests other things related to that I might want to select. So I don't have to complete typing. I can choose from that drop-down list what it is I want to look at. That continues. And that's available and improved and extended in terms of what I can do with it, customize and configure it within SYSPRO. Our reporting has been enhanced and sped up with the latest release of Crystal. Master data management. Now, when you first implement SYSPRO and have an ERP system that you're implementing, you want to take on a lot of data. You've got a lot of customers that you want to bring in that might exist elsewhere, suppliers. You may have price list information. Master data management, also known as quantum architecture, gives you some rich information and an easy grid style ability to be able to import that in. With the 2024 release, that's been extended even further. With this release, it makes it easy for you to rejig the columns in which the data is visible, shows you at a glance the mandatory columns that you need to populate, so you know without having to go through trial and error what information needs to be there. But more importantly, it also now gives you the option to update information rather than having to go ahead and only add new pieces. So the new upsert functionality means that if I just want to update my price code without having to update all my supplier details, I can choose to do that as well. So some nice rich improvements around master data management. Earlier releases of SYSPRO 8, we'd also upgraded access to data. ODBC, imagine that on steroids through the OData functionality. This is native functionality that's available outside of the SYSPRO realm. It's also available for you to be able to access data directly into other environments, such as Excel. As we know, people will still want to go ahead and pull things out of SYSPRO, even though the data might exist. So you can have an OData access connector that will pull data directly into. This is now live and you're able to go ahead and interact and slice and dice as you so choose. I've talked at you quite a bit. What I'm going to do is hand over now to Lucia to talk a little bit more about the insights.
Thanks there, Darshnee. So the Business Activity Query Builder is a low-code dataset creation tool which is used across a number of areas of SYSPRO's enterprise reporting, most notably the business insight tiles and the embedded analytics, which we are going to concentrate on now for the next few moments. So finally, the time comes to look at some software. So we have a program here, Business Activity Query Builder. And I have access to all of the business queries that have been generated for the predefined embedded analytics dashboards, as well as my own custom queries. So let's find my query that I have started to put together. So let's just set the scene here. I want to have an insight tile that will drive a custom process to have an approval workflow on my sales orders. So in advance to this, I have already created a custom form field to my sales order called approved, and it has a simple drop down of yes or no. Now, on this tile, I want to pull out key sales order header information and also my new custom form field called approved from the sales order custom form table. So in order to do this, I create a new business activity query. I give it a reasonable description so I can find it at a later stage. The first thing I need to do is select what my primary data source is. So if we just click on select data sources, we can see here we have the full visibility of the SYSPRO data dictionary. So all of the base tables, all of the custom form field tables. It has also got all the business query views as well on there. So I've pre-selected this in true Blue Peter fashion, and I've put my SAW master, which is the sales order master table, as my primary source. So once that's selected, it adds it to my data source list. Now, the next thing I want to do is go and link in the custom form fields to that table. So again, just to do this, if I click on the SAW master, it will give me that same data source table again, but now I can click in on all the other tables that I want to link into. And there's the SAW Master Plus. And if we just click on that, it will show the fields that are in there, and we can see there's my custom form field approved. So it will be a case of ticking on the additional data sources that you require, and it adds it on, and it also does the clever linking for you, which you can go in and edit should you wish to change that around. So once we've got our data sources in place, we can then choose the columns that we want to appear in our tile. So again, Blue Peter fashion is one I created earlier, and I've selected the approved field from my custom form table, and then I've got sales order, customer, salesperson, purchase order number, and likewise on there. But again, this is a very simple drop down. Choose the data source you want, and then we've got access to every column, every field on that table. And again, it's just a case of clicking on the fields that you want, and you can also search in here as well, should you wish to. So the next thing we want to do is just make sure that we're picking up the sales orders that have not yet been approved, so we can create our where clause. And again, this just follows the sort of wizard through. So I choose my field from my table, and I say I want it to equal the word no. So the validate SQL will actually make sure that my SQL statement is valid, as well as also generated it. So down here, we can see the system has automatically put together what the SQL view will contain. And if we click on preview data, we can actually test that we are pulling out the correct data and that our tile will work. Okay. So SYSPRO 8 comes with some out-of-the-box tiles to get you started, but the real benefit is that you can create your own using the Business Activity Query Builder and the Insight Tile KPI definition program to manage your tiles. So the tiles can be used to drive internal tasks and procedures outside of the standard SYSPRO offering, providing customer-specific business process fit. So as we can see here, I have got a sales order awaiting approval tile. And if we click in, we can see that it has utilized that business activity query that we created with all of our columns on there. So the beauty of this now is that using the smart links, I can actually interact and do actions from this tile. So I can go into the sales order entry directly from this tile. we can see on the sales order, we have my custom form field where the approval is currently set to no. I can change that now and say, yes, I am approving this sales order. End the order. Come back out and I'll just force a refresh through. Okay, so the eagle-eyed of you will have noticed that the tile has now changed color and the count has dropped to 10. And if we click on the tile, that sales order that I approved no longer appears on this list because it is now approved. So key performance indicators on tiles can be used to highlight values that approach or exceed predetermined objectives or thresholds. And this lets you proactively keep an eye on approaching targets, and we can change the look of the tile to bring this to the user's attention. So how do we do this? Okay, well, let's have a look at the Insight Tile KPI definition program, because from here, I can manage the targets of the Insight tiles, I can create new Insight tiles, and I can import tiles. And I can also see where those tiles are deployed. So let's find the sales await an approval tile. Here it is. If we just click, it will take me into the edit mode where we can give the tile a meaningful description. And if we look at the tile detail, we can see here we've got a very simple line, which is basically saying select all the columns from that query that we created using the business activity query builder. If I click on the edit KPI, we can go through and change the target information. And I can do this system-wide, or I can just restrict this to certain companies, certain roles, or certain operators. Now, if I click on edit, we can see here that if I get more than 8 orders that are awaiting approval, it will turn the tile orange. And if I have more than 10, it will turn the tile red. So just to recap, the query builder and tiles give us business critical insights for quicker analysis, decision making and execution. They are surfaced to the user's desktop. The user can drill down to the detail and action transactions directly. There are many out of the box pre-configured tiles to allow you to immediately leverage your data. And more importantly, you have the tools to create and customize your own, giving greater business process fit. So in addition to what you have just seen, we can drive even greater insights through the new embedded analytics module. So the embedded analytics can be deployed on both the web user interface, Avanti, and the SYSPRO clients. On the web interface, dedicated workspaces can be configured to display the analytics dashboards. And here are some examples of the pre-configured out-of-the-box dashboards that SYSPRO provides. So we can see the workspaces. Currently, I'm sat on my favorite, which is the sales order book, which is loaded up here. And we can see on here, we've got metrics about the orders. We've got a map of where the orders are coming from. And we've got the most commonly sold items and so forth. So I can actually go into here and I can interact with the analytics and filter out specific information. And if I just scroll down, we can also change timelines. So if you just want to concentrate on a particular data set, we can do that. We've got the ability to drill in to the information and actually see the lines of data that has come from the source information on there. So if we look at a couple of other examples, in my workspaces, I have got accounts receivable analytics. I have got, hiding behind that, purchase analytics. And these are all standard, out of the box, pre-configured, preloaded when you have the embedded analytics module. So on the client desktops, the dashboards can be embedded along the insight tiles within the web view. So here is a finance user with the finance insight tiles and a couple of example analytics, which have a more finance orientation. If we look at my stores user, we can see I'm using the web view to show all of my programs and insight tiles. And down below here, I have got my embedded analytics concentrating on just inventory information. Embedded analytics comes with a designer to allow you to customize the visuals and dashboards for user deployment. So these are the data sources that could be created in the business activity query builder. These are the individual visuals, which can be a variety of gauges, graphs, pie charts, etc. And we can search through the visuals and have the ability to copy and amend to our preferences. So let's find some top 10s. So we got my top 10 AR customers. As I said, these can be copied and saved as and amended to your preference. If we click on the edit button, we can see here we can have a variety of different graph styles. So we might like floating bubbles, or we might like packed bubbles, or one of my favorites is the word cloud on there. And we can also change all the kind of the color palette. So I'm using the standard theme, but we've got the ability to put in your own kind of color coding on there. So the library holds all the dashboards that you can deploy onto the user desktops. And this is where you can create your own collection of visuals for the user to interact with. So if we find my customer analysis, so this is one of the standard out of the box, we can see here it's embedded in all the separate visuals onto the one dashboard. I can also create my own on here. So if we start looking at LM, I have my LM sales dashboard where I'm just showing my top 10 customers and my top item sales as a word cloud. So if we come on to my client login here, if I just scroll right down to the bottom, here we've got my custom dashboard showing the top 10 customers and the word cloud just down below. So to recap, SYSPRO provides out-of-the-box pre-configured dashboards, saving you days, if not weeks, of effort to gain immediate visibility of your key analytics. You can amend the templates and design your own with the added ability to blend in data from external sources, filter, drill down into the detail, and link to other dashboards related to your data points. At this point, I will pass back to Darshnee. Oops. There we go.
Lucia, that's a great tour of just some of the tools that SYSPRO has added in around improving, diving into the data. Switching gears, we're going to start looking up and down that supply chain that we've got, customers, suppliers, what's improved. Request for quotes, we know that the supply chain and challenges around purchasing, lots and lots of reasons in the world that are going on right now that's happened, which means that we're asking for quotes. SYSPRO has improved the ability to simplify and navigate the quotes that are out there and the bidding process that you might be going through when you're actually going ahead and surfacing information up with multiple suppliers. Related to that, there's improved enhancements around sourcing policies as well. You may have a key supplier for an item that is mission critical to your production environment, your distribution. You want to make sure that you've always got that available. So you may want to have a number of different suppliers for it, or you may want to have a single supplier. Depending on what your strategic decision is from a purchasing perspective, you can then identify, build in those sourcing policies that the system will automatically pick up and leverage as purchasing decisions are being made, purchase orders are being raised. That takes the thinking away and the automation routines get built in with that. There are times, of course, where things don't always go well and you may have to return something to the supplier. The process that you would follow is also something that's been added in systematically into SYSPRO, and so the return to supplier module kicks in. With SYSPRO 8, we've seen a number of different pricing improvements that have come in from the pricing engine, the ability to generate catalogs, as well as enhancements to the trade promotions module. These are incremental and big changes that you can look to leverage as you're now negotiating and leveraging your own pricing position out to the market. Now, we've got Supply Chain Portal also listed in here. This is a tool that was introduced early on in SYSPRO 8 with the ability for suppliers to navigate and access information around their own information as well as open purchase orders. So this is more an information tool that's available to surface information rather than transact on the actual portal. Over the SYSPRO 8 releases, this has been added, augmented, and enhanced so that what was available on the supplier side is also available on the customer side, which means you now have the ability to have a web address provided to your customers for them to self-service information. So think of this as more of a data information visibility tool rather than a transactional e-commerce platform. I'm actually going to go ahead and hand over at this point to Lucia to actually show you what the supply chain portal looks like from a customer perspective. So Lucia, over to you.
Thank you very much, Darshnee. So let's get my web browser up. Okay, so SYSPRO Supply Chain Portal allows customers and suppliers to self-serve their own trading information, meaning that you can spend less time fielding queries for updates. So I have my MOD customer. They have a sign-in via their email address and password. Okay, so if the customer forgets their password, they don't have to mither you to reset it. They can do that themselves, and they can also change their password as well. These things always take longer when loads of people are watching. Here we go. So the customer will have their own landing page with some out-of-the-box customer insights regarding how long they take to pay and how much money they owe us. But if we click into the customer account, we will be able to see basically the customer query online for this customer. They don't have to enter any more information. It automatically pushes through their customer reference for them. So the customer can have access to all of their invoices, and they can see which ones have been settled. And if we click on this settled one, it will also show the payment reference on there when it was paid. We can also allow your customer to get a copy of their invoice. So if we just click on that, it will just pull up the reporter. There we go. So the customer can then obviously print that off or download it to their machine. They can have visibility of their sales orders on there, and I've grouped this by status so they can quickly see which ones are complete and which ones are still open. They can also see their statements, and again, like with the invoice, they can download their statement and bring that up. So the same concept is also available on the supply side, where you can provide your supplier with a login, and they can see the equivalent of their supplier query with all of your trading information with them. I will now pass back to Darshnee.
Thanks very much, Lucia. Right. We've looked at going outside. How are we going to tighten the control down? There's a number of enhancements that SYSPRO has released in and around that. I'm going to start first with things that are done to improve your system. Access to the environment, specifically SYSPRO itself, has been extended to allow for single sign-on, be it in the web client or the traditional user interface. This basically means that you can go ahead and have it automatically launch with the user credentials. All your permissions to SYSPRO programs and your passwords and electronic signatures, you still configure within SYSPRO. However, you don't have to now type in your user ID as you're trying to log in. You may want to tighten it down further, where I've now gotten so used to having my phone with me all the time to be able to have in an additional number punch in every time I try and log into something. Multi-factor authentication is becoming the way of the world now, wherever we are. And so with that, SYSPRO has also extended that out to allow you to do multi-factor. SYSPRO 8, we've made a concerted effort to move everything into SQL as much as possible. And so what you'll notice is, as you progress through the versions of SYSPRO 8, for those that are already on it, you will have seen more and more things migrate into that particular SQL database. So we've got things such as customization that have moved in. All of the files that we used to have in the flat file structure are now stored within SQL tables. The reports themselves have also migrated, which means now that if you've got the way that you would design the reports, that goes ahead and changes. 8 itself changed the way that we would go ahead and do updates. So for those pre-8, we would be used to things such as ports. They have now migrated over into hotfixes, which means it uses technology similar to what you would expect in Windows, where if you wanted to roll something back, you would go into the Windows to uninstall or roll back a particular hotfix. So that makes the updating and the maintenance of SYSPRO itself far easier. In addition, there are administrative dashboards that have been added into SYSPRO. They're accessible directly from within SYSPRO, and two key ones that I want to highlight that I think are really useful. Back to the SQL only, there are SQL dashboards that give you at a glance a view of all of the tables and the databases used by SYSPRO, as well as the health status of some of those. So you've got access as an administrator right within SYSPRO to see that information. There's also a nice, rich little tool in and around security. If you wanted to have a sense of what security is being assigned across and throughout the system for your individual users, that dashboard's nice and punchy. We've noticed, of course, a migration globally towards the number of individuals that have adopted Office 365, and SYSPRO now natively supports that as well. So just another addition, nice tidy up that you want to be able to capture. Drilling in away from the system administration, I want to talk a little bit around finance and the enhancements that have been made around that. If we look at the two ends of the corner of this particular side, what you'll see is there are improvements that have been made in multi-currency and related to that, exchange rates. With the multi-currency, it gives you the ability to go ahead and take and receive payments in whatever currency. So that's nice, especially when you're trading outside of the borders of the UK. In the latest release, we've seen improvements around how we're evaluating anything that has a particular exchange rate. Traditionally, you would be doing it at a fixed rate, but you could now go down to the transactional level. For larger organizations where you might have centralized your payment function either on the outgoing or the incoming side, the group payments functionality is really nice and rich, where it allows you to now take and make payments across multiple SYSPRO companies. So this now makes us more robust, especially as we're growing and going out into that supply chain beyond our own borders. Extending on the financial side, if I look at the detailed posting to control accounts, this enhancement now means that we can see granular levels of detail regardless of the type of account on the general ledger that we've got, which means your reconciliation becomes far simpler, easier, and quicker. Extending on that financial element around reconciliation, month end is the bane of most financial individuals' lives. I've talked to a number of relatives, and inevitably you can't make any plans soon after the end of the month because they're busy now working in and around balancing their month end. SYSPRO's made enhancements and improvements to make that process simpler, easier, and quicker, and there are a number of things that come along with that. The last thing I want to talk about around the financial improvements, something that's been introduced in early phases of SYSPRO 8. It's been around in the system for a long time, and this is around the concept of dunning, and it's really just to drive improvements around your cash collection. It gives you a whole methodical process to go ahead and build and notify various customer outstanding invoices. And it gives you the ability to automatically distribute these, where if you've now got some cash collection challenges, we've noticed that the dunning system's actually helped a number of customers automate that and simplify their particular in-house processes for doing that. So quick sample, you could actually go ahead and start taking a letter such as this for someone that's been truant and having an issue with payments over a longer term. But you wouldn't want to send this to all your customers, which means you've now got a variety of different tones and themes running towards. So you're managing your collections without impacting your customer experience. So a little tool, but it does have and pack a powerful punch. Let's go one step further into this. What are we doing around warehousing inventory operations? Inventory control has significantly improved in SYSPRO 8, and there are a number of enhancements, little and big, that have expanded this out, from improvements in and around picking and various cycles associated with that, tracking of pack sizes, and also in the latest release, we've had, in the 2023 release, I apologize, the ability to have inventory transactions imported in for automation of some repetitive tasks and bulk tasks. The ability to drive and direct who's doing what at which time is also something that's nice and rich in and around missions and tasks. And we had a webinar that we ran around this time last year that goes into a little bit more detail around both of those areas. So if you wanted to get to know a little bit more about that, happy to share with you a recording of some of that so you can revisit it. The other enhancement that we've got in and around internal operations is a focus that SYSPRO's put around improving visibility. When I talk about visibility, there's a number of things that have been added in, from adding of custom form fields at inventory transaction level, which means now I'm capturing my specific data either for business or industry at source of operation rather than having to add that in later. There's also additional information around recorded dates when it comes to tracking and traceability of serials, lots, as well as additional lots, which means I can capture information outside of what I might be used to as well. SYSPRO MOM is another piece that we think is a really great foundation that's available, has been available for a while, but it's been now even improved with SYSPRO 8, is the manufacturing operations management solution. It's a whole suite and one particular product that allows you to schedule your production. And once your production's been scheduled, all of your jobs, you've got a good sense of what's being made at what point in time. You can then publish that and have that visible throughout your organization, which means that your sales team are empowered to give customers information that is valid rather than having to interact and engage and interrupt the production supervisor every time. The benefit of now having a scheduled systematic view of that production environment and having it published is that you can now collect information and data against it. And there's a great data capture, shop floor data capture tool that's available as part of the MOM suite. What that means is you're tracking what's happening live in the system and updating the live system, which means you can analyze it really quickly. And then of course, with most manufacturing best practices, once you're analyzing, you're looking at improving and applying that to your next schedule and continuing that continuous improvement cycle. So MOM is something that I know we definitely have customers making really good, solid use of. And also we've got another webinar that we've run that I'll share a link with you that talks a bit and drives into the MOM value factor. Now, we talked about MOM. The additional piece that we've got in here is quality. SYSPRO 8 in particular, the last couple of releases have introduced improvements in and around how you capture and drive quality value. And I'm going to hand back to Lucia to talk a little bit about what that quality module provides. Thanks, Lucia.
Thanks, Darshnee. The new quality management module in SYSPRO comprises of 3 areas: customer complaints, recall management, and the inspection engine. The customer complaint side, This helps businesses manage and respond to customer complaints about their products or services. It provides insight into customer dissatisfaction and allows you to prioritize issues and escalate for resolution. The recall management is used to trace suspect items, conduct a product recall by identifying and retrieving potentially defective goods from customers, and prevent suspect items from being allocated to a job, dispatched or invoiced until the inspection process is complete. Let's do a deeper dive into the new inspection engine. The inspection dashboard gives us visibility of all the inspection test results against each stock code. We can look at our round steel bar and see what current tests are waiting to be completed. We can also have visibility of completed test results and the access to what the captured data was. If we go back to my test status waiting to be completed, if I go into the purchase inspection, just to show you in here that all of these facilities to accept into stock or to scrap and return have been blanked out. These will not appear active again until the inspection status has been completed. In the inspection test queue program, we can use the filter to only show work in progress tests or purchase tests, or to review historical tests. So we have 3 tests that are outstanding, and here is our purchase inspection for our round steel bar. So let's post our test results and attach the supplier certificate that our supplier has sent us. So for this round steel bar, there are 2 tests attached. One is specific to the actual product, and one is more general. So it's asking me here to enter the diameter. So we will measure the diameter and enter it in, and also specify if the hardness test has passed. I shall say yes, and I can submit those tests. Let's do the next one. So this was more generic. So did the visual inspection pass? Yes. Is there a certificate available? Yes, there is. And submit that. And I can also attach the certificate that the supplier supplied. And we can see this at any point in time. So the inspection design program lets you design your own inspection tests. So if we look at the one that I had for my bar, we can see here the 2 questions that I asked and what my numeric tolerance was. So for the 70mm round bar, I was expecting 70mm, but I would have also accepted 72 or 68. Any entry outside of those tolerances would have resulted in a fail of that test. If we click on the test design form, this is where you can add your own fields on there, and you can specify the type of capture that you want, whether it's alpha entry, a checkbox, a date, a drop down of your valid results, or a numeric value that you want to test tolerances against. The acceptance quality limit program is used to set the batch sampling rates and failure acceptance when using sample basis for the tests. The inspection level review program allows you to assign the tests that will be executed according to the inspection type, whether it's warehouse, specific warehouse, the specific stock code, or supply chain, which could be customer or supplier, and then to define the sample basis for the tests. So we can see here's my round steel bar. If we just go into the edit mode, we can see it's a purchase order inspection. So every time we do a purchase order receipt of this product from this supplier, we want to have a sample quantity of just one, but here you can enter whether it's the full quantity or a sample quantity and who the default inspector is. And on this example, we are performing 2 tests as we have already seen. So in summary, the new quality management inspection engine can elevate your quality control processes and provide more efficiency and accuracy. You can design your own tests, your own tolerance values, the sampling acceptance rates. They can be linked to stock codes, warehouses, suppliers and/or customers, and you have full visibility of the current and historical test results. I should now pass back to Darshnee.
Very much. So what Lucia has shown is something that SYSPRO has been on for, when we talk about it, it's basically a journey. It's a quality journey. And this particular release has introduced the idea of an inspection engine and actually capturing inspection at the end of purchase orders and WIPs, as she showed. Going forward, there are a few additional pieces of functionality that will be coming through in and around quality specifically. 2 features that are coming through in the near future are non-conformance reporting, as well as corrective and preventative actions. Both of these we anticipate coming out later on this particular year. Now, the non-conformance reporting is, of course, when a test doesn't pass, what do you want to do with it in terms of reporting? And then the corrective and preventative is the what you're going to do with it. So look forward to having more of that come in. Now, the idea behind the quality functionality that SYSPRO has introduced is that it is available for organizations that need to capture information. This may not meet full-blown quality needs if you're in a regulated or highly legislated industry, which means that you may be looking for a full-blown quality solution. And of course, we do have a partner that provides that in Quality for SYSPRO by Unipoint. And there are a number of different modules, including non-conformance, corrective action, document control, that also adds on to the inspection element of quality itself. So that's something just to be mindful of, is SYSPRO absolutely has quality built into it, but there are limitations as to what it will do. So you need to assess what your requirements are. And it gives you a good sense of some of the basics of what's available. What we've done in the last 15 minutes or so is giving you a whistle-stop tour of some of the changes and introduction of functionality that has been there since SYSPRO 8. And this just gives you a highlight of some of the things just in the latest release of SYSPRO 8. Hopefully you find that relatively useful. If you do want to know more, there are, of course, other areas, other links that you can go to get more information around this. The first one is an older video that I alluded to that's available on YouTube. It was done on SYSPRO 8 last year to give you a sense of some of the functionality that we highlighted at that point. For me, I find help.syspro.com an incredibly rich tool to be able to go to, and it is my one go-to right away that allows me to go ahead and see information not just on how specific functionality works, but also deeper dive into it. The third link that I've got on there is specifically to the latest release, and it will highlight not just the functionality in the latest release, but older releases in addition to. Now, for customers that are already on SYSPRO 8, NexSys, we've put together a landing page to be able to identify and highlight some of the things you need to consider and think about before moving into a newer release and a newer version. So, for example, if you're on a particular version of Crystal, you may have to think about what it means to move to the later release, where you can go ahead and access a later version of Crystal, and there are some impacts. So what we recommend is take a look at that particular landing page and fill in the details, and we'll happily go ahead and help you with that. Now, before we move on, I just want to go ahead and, oh, there we go. We've got a sense of what that landing page looks like. Let's see if you could do me a favor and get me back onto the PowerPoint. Thank you. Fat fingers today.
That was right. There we go.
Fantastic. Wanted to actually launch a quick poll at this point. Back over to you for you to have a say. We've taken you on this whistle stop tour. So what's next for you? Are you on 8 and looking for a newer release? Are you not yet on 8 looking to upgrade, maybe in the next 3 to 6 months or the 6 to 18 months? Or are there other things going on in your business right now? I can see votes coming in. That's great. Thank you. Let's see what else we've got. There 10 seconds. I see most of you have voted. Wonderful. I'm going to close that poll down. So I can see that about 40% are already on 8 looking to move over, and about 15% have a lot going on in the business right now. So there'll be other priorities. Wonderful. So I want to say thank you very much. At this point, I've opened the floor up for questions, and I can see that there have been a few questions already posed in the Q&A panel. So I'll go through that. For anyone that, of course, needs to get on with their day, thank you for joining us today. Really appreciate your time, and hopefully you've got something that you've learned in there. If not, feel free to add something in the chat and we'll go ahead and pick it up. There is, if you're leaving us, a survey. Very much appreciate you filling it in, because of course we do pay attention to that as we look what else we're going to be presenting next. I'm going to open up the questions. The first question that I've got in here is regarding the supply chain portal that was showcased. Is the portal hosted or in-house, or is it synced with a cloud-hosted platform? That's a great question. So the portal itself is actually just the technology available for you to be able to surface that up. It is something that you would host in-house yourself or with a technology provider of your choice. So hopefully that answers that question. I've got another question for you here. What is the authenticator app that SYSPRO uses for multi-factor authentication? That is a great question. Let me just go ahead and get that pulled up for you. You have the ability to use an email, which means that the individual will get an email with a particular PIN code, whatever email you choose, and there is a Google Authenticator that you can sync it to as well. So if you want some more details on that, what I would recommend is go into help.syspro.com and have a quick search around multi-factor authentication. And there's a great article that goes in and actually shows you some of the additional details associated with that. So hopefully that helps. Good. Someone's asked for a copy of the webinar. Yes, we are recording it. We'll make it available afterwards. So thank you for reminding me of that. Wonderful. Okay. Good question. When does SYSPRO 8 2022 R2 go end of life? Okay, so that's a great question. In this particular case, what happens is it doesn't actually go end of life, it goes into extended. I believe I'm going to do my math very, very quickly and get you some details around the dates associated with that. Lucia, if you could do me a favor and pop up the page that we had available already around the help. We'll get you a link directly into, thanks Lucia, that's perfect. So 2022 has already closed around the supported platforms. Its current release and the previous release before that, that is going to be mainstream and added in and continually updated. So currently 2024 is the current release. 2023 is the one that we would go ahead and also have supported. I've got a phone a friend that's helping me out on the questions, so thanks very much for that. Excellent. I've seen someone that's gone live on SYSPRO 8. Congratulations, that's absolutely great. Clarification on the SYSPRO 8 retirement question. 8 2021 R2 is also going to be under that because it's going to be behind from there. So in here, if we want to go ahead and do a search for life cycle, we can actually go in and you've got access to that to give you a sense of what is available and what level of support it is. So hopefully that gives you a bit of a self-help tool as well. All right, so I've got a question in here. Lucy, I'm going to try and see if you can help me out with this one. It's to do with inspection. Is it at stock code level or supplier by stock code?
Both. So you can have it just as stock code, but you can also have specific tests by supplier as well. So the relationship could be stock code and supplier, if that makes sense.
It does, yes, thank you. And if it doesn't, I'm sure we'll get a clarification in the text in just another minute. Excellent. Good. The next question I've got in here is to do with the release and functionality around quality. Okay, so I can definitely see the quality functionality in 2024. There isn't anything additional yet available. What's available in the 2023 releases there, we will be getting more functionality coming out within the life of 2024. So look out for that over the next few months. Excellent. And then the one other question that I've got here is around insights. There is a great tutorial that's available around Web Insights. However, we don't have any updated online videos on that. So I'll try and see if I can dig out whether there's any online videos associated with that and get back to you. But I realize that we are now at the top of the half hour and well beyond the time. So I'm going to wrap it up there. One final question that snuck right in is embedded analytics for SYSPRO 8 2021 or 2022? Lucia, skill testing question. Do you remember when embedded analytics was introduced?
Oh, I think it's
2023.
I think it's 2023. Yes.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but it was a brand new module that was added in last year for the 2023 release. All right, excellent. If there are any questions that remain, of course, feel free to drop Kelly an email. She'll be sending you a follow-up email after this, of course. We'll make sure we pick them up and go ahead and get them answered. But thank you everyone for your time and attention today, and hopefully you found this useful. Enjoy the rest of your day. Take care. Thanks, Lucia, for this as well.
Yep, thank you, Darshnee. Thank you everybody for your attention.
Bye for now.
Bye.